Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Joining us on the line now is Jane Peyton. She is the founder of the School of Booze. She's an expert on alcoholic drinks as well as their non-alcoholic equivalent. She was Britain's first beer sommelier of the year and is the UK's first accredited pommelier, which is a cider sommelier. She's a Guinness World Record holder, having hosted the world's largest beer tasting tutorial in 2016, and her tour of historic London pubs was voted the top global experience. Welcome to the show, Jane.
Oh, Hannah, thanks for inviting me to talk to you and your listeners.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's lovely to have you back with us. And I reckon since the last time we've spoken, which was a good couple of years ago now, the rise in non-alcoholic drinks must have gone up massively. It's a huge thing now, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. In Britain, where I'm based, for sure. And the leader in that respect is beer, because to me, beer replicates its alcohol version much better than any other. So if you think of wine, sometimes it can taste a bit like grape juice, cider a bit like apple juice, where beer, it just really replicates its alcohol counterpart, and it's very convincing. So if you are a drinker of alcohol and you want to just moderate a little bit, then you can have a beer with alcohol and then switch to a beer with non-alcohol and just keep switching that way. But in hot weather as well, beer is the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some good gins as well, non-alcoholic gins. You wouldn't think it would work with spirits. I haven't tried any other spirit, I don't think, but the zero alcohol gins are really nice.
Yeah, I tried a non-alcohol whiskey once, and it was really clever because the producer had added cayenne pepper. Because the thing with spirits, if you're drinking whiskey in particular and things like rum, if you're drinking them neat, part of that drinking experience is that sort of burn, that hotness that you get from the alcohol spirit.
Yeah.
Now, in a non-alcohol version, that's missing. So to add a little cayenne pepper, you get that like hit of heat. And your brain thinks, I'm drinking something that has alcohol in it. So I thought that was really clever, and I found that very convincing, that non-alcoholic whiskey.
Yeah, that's a really clever idea. So I want to ask you about being a sommelier, because when we hear the word sommelier, most people will think of wine, going to a restaurant, and the sommelier comes to the table and advises you on what wine to order. So how does it work with being a beer sommelier and a cider sommelier?
Well, in both of those cases, it's very rare. In fact, I've never even heard of it happening that a restaurant would hire a beer or a cider sommelier. The thing is that the price point of beer and cider in restaurants, even if they have it, is quite low. So it doesn't warrant having a professional in a restaurant. But what cider and beer sommeliers do to earn money or to use their accreditation, they often do tastings. They might work with a brewery. In my case, I'm self-employed, so I do events, I do writing, I do education, and so I train people in beer and cider knowledge, but I also write books about beer and cider knowledge and wine as well, because I'm accredited in wine and spirits. So we do use, for beer and cider sommeliers, we do use our accreditation in a different way. One thing that I've noticed that we do actually is very much advocacy. So we will try and be an ambassador, for beer or cider, and persuade people that it's fantastic with food, try and recommend matches with food and make people think in a different way about beer and cider. So that's very much what we do. It's very much an advocacy sort of role.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because, we've seen with nice meals out or tasting menus that you get accompanying wine that can go with it. So you have different wine with each course, things like that. And I've even seen on a couple of, I can't even think where I've seen it now, but on various shows of having tequila tasting with alongside the meal, which sounds very strange, particularly as someone that doesn't enjoy tequila. But you don't really see it with beer and cider. Why is that?
It's because there's, I think in this country, in particular in Britain, there's both drinks have a low value perception. They're drunk in pubs in big buckets, basically, pint measures. And so consequently, people who want to go out for a lovely meal and spend some money wouldn't necessarily think of those two as the thing to drink. Casual dining, yes, if they're having a pizza or going for a burger, yes, but not fine dining. Whereas to me, I mean, I know this because I've done this, but to me, beer is hands down the most versatile drink to match with food. And, there are more than 100 different styles of beer. And most people think, oh, beer's just, pale lager. I'm just thinking where you are. Where are you based, Hannah? And I'll give you a
Southern Spain.
Southern Spain, so you're thinking Estrella Damm or Mau or San Miguel. They're pale lager beers. There's over 100 more different styles, and there is a beer that will go with every single style of food or cuisine or course in the meal, including dessert. If you go to Belgium, dining with beer, that is part of UNESCO's World Heritage. It's got an accreditation for World Heritage because it's so important that the Belgians dine with beer, and they're not eating a burger with that food. They're doing fine dining with it.
Yeah.
So it just depends where you are and what your culture for beer is. And in places like southern Spain, I would imagine it's very much refreshment based and casual, a casual sort of drink, as it is in Britain as well.
Yeah, definitely. And cider's
cider worse because that's got the hangover on a park bench when you're a teenager.
I was gonna say, I was literally gonna tell you a story about white lightning and how that's affected me ever since. And I have to admit, I'm going to a cheese and cider festival in Dorset in September, which I'm really looking forward to. But I'm nervous about the cider part because I haven't really been into cider since that bad experience when I was younger. And but you can get loads of different flavours of cider now, can't you?
You can do. I mean, most of them will be just sugar water.
Right.
So, it's just a sugary syrup. If you want real cider, actually, you're in southern Spain. Go to Asturias or Galicia. Or the Basque region of northern Spain along the Atlantic coast. That's a cider culture.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I did a talk there at a conference a couple of years ago. Went to Gijón in Asturias and had to travel around. Spectacular. And they dine with cider. Very much dry and very acidic ciders there in that part of the world, which match really well the foods of that region, which is fish. There's a lot of fish. Cheese is very much part of the culture there. So we, again, going back to cider, unfortunately, in Britain, most of the cider that people drink is just rocket fuel. It's cheap, it's sugar water, it's not real cider. But if you're going to Dorset, then you will have some real cider in Dorset.
Yes.
And you'll have some great cheeses as well. So just try and get over that hangover when you're a teenager.
Yes.
You'll sniff it and you'll go, oh my God, I'm taken back to that horrible hangover.
Yes.
Try and get over that. So, and look at it as apple wine. It's made in the same way that grape wine is. The juice the apples are pressed for the juice and then it's fermented. It's much more akin to apple wine than it is to apple beer. It's not brewed.
No.
It's pressed, fermented. So it is an apple wine.
Yeah.
Just forget that's like white lining, cheap, rubbishy ones.
Yes.
Like a proper artisan cider.
Yeah, I'm determined to do it. I'm determined to. I want to ask you about the Guinness World Record as well, hosting the world's largest beer tasting tutorial. I bet that was fun. How many people were there then?
Well, 1,236 people. And unfortunately, it was beaten actually by a Spanish beer brand a couple of years ago, and they got 7 people more than we did.
Oh.
No. I was doing it at a beer pub industry, actually it was a pub industry 25th anniversary of a magazine, a trade magazine, and they thought that they'd do something a bit notable. And so they decided that they would organise a Guinness World Record attempt. So we had to taste 3 different beers. It was really strict, actually. You had to go into this big venue. You had to go through at an airport, they have those metal detectors.
Yeah.
So you went there, they counted the people in. And at every single table at the dinner, there were monitors watching to see that every single person on that table participated in the beer tasting. So I was on the stage hosting it. And that's why they could then prove, because they'd counted them with all these monitors, they could prove that it had really happened. Oh, and also people weren't allowed to leave the dinner. You know, if they left the room, then they couldn't come back in for the tasting. You had to have that amount of people in there because they knew they'd gone in. They couldn't come out. So it was really strict. But yeah, it was fun. Got some good photos from it. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So how did you pick the 3 beers?
Well, the organisers of the dinner, the caterers, it was one of the big breweries was providing most of the beer for that particular event. And so it was 3 of their styles. I won't say which brewery it was, but it was 3 very distinctly different styles of beer.
Oh, perfect.
That's the thing. If you're having a beer tasting, or any tasting actually, a wine tasting, cider tasting, what you taste for just the general public just joining in for a tasting, you want to have very different styles so people can really notice that they are different. So they smell different, they taste different, they've got a different mouthfeel, there may be a different colour. So you do have to have real points of difference for people to really get it. Otherwise, it's like, oh, that just tastes like the other one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. And also, I mentioned in the introduction your tour of historic London pubs being voted a top global experience. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do love doing that. And it's mostly Americans, actually, who take the tour, because a British person would never pay somebody to take them on a pub crawl. And I say pub crawl, it's not really a crawl. I mean, we have a glass of beer or cider in each pub, but it's very tame. And it's people, mostly Americans, and they just love pubs, the historic pubs, and they really enjoy having a chat with people who know what they're talking about pubs. But more than anything, they just feel as though the locals then, because they've come along with me, who I know the pubs and I know the scene very well, and they just feel as though they're having a right good old natter with somebody. And no one tour is ever the same because each client is different. So they'll always have a different conversation, or they're from different parts of the world. And it's fab. It's a really great way of getting to know people.
Oh, yes, I bet. And it's nice for people to, I think when you're going to a city that maybe you haven't been to before, like you say, with the Americans coming to London, there's so many different things, different touristy things that you can do. And you need to find something that works for you, you know, or there's obviously tours of the theatre tours and things like that. You know, or tours of, there's like a Jack Ripper tour and things. I mean, there's so many things, isn't there, in London alone. So it's so nice that there's something for everyone. People that enjoy pubs and meeting people and like a drink, it's perfect for them.
Yes, and it's a private tour, so it's just their group. Quite often it's just a couple, but sometimes I'll take up to 6 people. They all know each other, and so it's their private group, and they can just have a really, really great chat and get to know some really good stories about some of the historic pubs, and they love it because they don't have, in America, they don't have anything like that.
No.
Nothing sells anyway.
No,
but they do really enjoy it.
And whereabouts, presumably you're doing a walking tour, I guess. So whereabouts in London are you for this?
Yes, it is a walking tour, and it's in the city of London, because those are the most historic pubs are actually in the city. You know, they're all part of the original part of London. And also there's lots of interesting things to point out as we're walking between the pubs. And I can tell people about the different history, or I'll point out the church spire that was the inspiration for wedding cakes, which are on tiers. It's actually called St. Bride's. It's in Fleet Street. And if any of your listeners are in London, go down Fleet Street, have a look at St. Bride's Church. It's a 17th century church, and its spire is amazing, and it inspired the reason that wedding cakes are in those tiers now.
Wow.
So that really interests people. And then because it's a lot of Americans who come, so I'll point out any connection with American history. We go to one pub and there's a church just opposite where Captain John Smith, who was part of the Virginia colony, Pocahontas and Captain John Smith, so he's buried there. So that some of these American connections, they really, really enjoy that.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. Well, next time I'm in London, I might look you up for a little tour.
Well, I can show you some really good pubs and some good beer. I don't know if you drink beer, but we might get you on the cider again and change your mind about that.
Yes, we'll see. Love it. Well, if people want to find out more about all the brilliant things that you do, they can have a look on your website, can they? School of Booze?
Can, yes.
So that's www.school-of-booze.com. Brilliant. Jane, Peyton, thank you. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. I was just saying, just search on School of Booze and it's the first thing that will come up, my website.
Perfect. Brilliant. Jane, thank you so much for joining us. Lovely to chat with you again.
My pleasure, and salut to all your listeners.
Thank you, Jane. Salut.